Children build an improvised Berlin Wall, West Berlin, October 1961. A 13-year-old boy from the Hitler Youth taken prisoner, 1945. Sailors of the Italian tall ship Amerigo Vespucci saying goodbye to their wives, Naples, 1963. All of Mahatma Gandhi's possessions after his death, India, 1948. Circus elephants Kiri and Minnie helped clear the streets of Hamburg after a bombing, Germany, November 1945. God Save America from Communism, Boston, USA, 1950. Crow Farini, The Monkey Girl, London, 1883. Adopted by Guillermo Antonio Farini, she was falsely advertised throughout her life as a primitive human and considered a missing link between humans and apes. A captured German soldier in front of the burning Reichstag. In the 1950s, tits in Britain learned to open the aluminum foil tops of milk bottles and quickly taught this skill to their peers, forcing people to start using protective covers. Faces of War, 1919. Prostitute Elizabeth Brown received 7 years in prison for strangling a sailor during BDSM play, Scotland, early 20th century. Bombing for peace is like having sex for virginity, a famous slogan used by hippies during protests against the Vietnam War in the 1960s. A lonely driver escapes during the collapse of the Tacoma Bridge, Tacoma, USA, 1940. Wedding rings found by American soldiers, Germany, Buchenwald, 1945. Martin Lorello, born with the ability to turn his head 180 degrees, 1938. One of the last indigenous Tasmanians exterminated by British settlers, 1869. Sharp dressers at a football match between Brighton and Watford, 1920. One of the largest aviation disasters in Germany. During a bombing demonstration from a dive at low cloud cover, 13 bombers flying one after another crashed into the ground, 1939. In 1921, designer Valerian Abakovsky tested the Aerowagon, a train with an aircraft engine. On the return trip, it derailed and crashed, taking the inventor's life. Turkmen girls, end of the 19th century. Soldiers fall, income rises. Poster from the USSR, 1968. A selfie with Adolf Hitler, Germany, 1930s. Teeth filing in Indonesian tribes, 1938. Chicago police prepare to extinguish a burning cross. The riots were triggered by an African-American family moving into a neighborhood previously inhabited only by white people, 1963. A crowd attempts to overturn a car carrying a black family during race riots, USA, 1956. The Ku Klux Klan emerged immediately after the Civil War and the abolition of slavery in the USA. Its members killed ideological opponents at night and dreamed of reviving slavery. A prisoner pulls a box of coal out of a coalface, Russia, 1890. Child labor remained a serious issue well into the 20th century, and children often worked in various industries in the USA. A girl from a cotton spinning factory, 1908. The contents of a Viking tool chest dropped over 1,000 years ago in Lake Mestermere on Gotland Island. The chest was recovered in 1936. A German soldier mocking a Jew, 1941. Incredibly powerful earthquake in Alaska, magnitude 9.2, 1964. This haunted every German. In this photo, a demonstrator tears down the Berlin Wall, dividing the city into two countries. Germany, 1989. Women from Morocco, 1971. In the 18th century, admission to the exotic animal collection at the Tower of London cost either a penny and a half or a cat or dog. They were used to feed the lions. In 1895, two cars collided in Ohio. The oddity of this case is that the automobile industry was just beginning, and there were only two cars in the entire state. The democratically elected President Salvador Allende, moments before his death during a military coup at the presidential palace, September 11, 1973, Santiago, Chile. One of the oldest pieces of evidence of tattoos in history, a Scythian deer tattoo on the mummy of the Altai princess, aged 2,500 years. Frederick Zugibe, an American pathologist conducting research to understand how the crucifixion of Jesus Christ occurred, 1984. An unusual invention, a portable TV from 1967. At the start of the Russo-Japanese War, caricatures of a crying Japanese man being whipped by a Cossack were popular in Russia, Russian Empire, 1904. Eventually, Russia lost the war, suffering massive losses. Ancient ruins of an indigenous civilization, Arizona, 1873. Samsung office trading fruits and fish, Korea, 1938. This was the beginning of the Samsung Empire. The caning of a negligent student, a common occurrence for those times. Wisconsin, USA, 1905. Segregationists harassed 6-year-old Ruby Bridges with a doll in a coffin. Barack Obama visiting his step-grandmother Sarah Ogwell Onyango Obama. Kenya, 1988. An aerial photograph of a field where German soldiers held Soviet POWs near Kharkov, 1942. Mark Twain demonstrates an experiment with high-frequency current passing through the human body, lighting an incandescent light bulb. A mischievous Nikola Tesla at the light switch, 1895. Mandarin Wanhu ordered 47 rockets to be tied to his chair to fly to the moon. The chair exploded and the Mandarin disappeared. The servants thought he had flown away. China, 16th century. Prisoners being taken to work, USSR, 1989. One of the most famous photos of World War II, a crying 15-year-old German anti-aircraft gunner, Hans-Georg Henke, captured by the U.S. Army in Rechtenbach, Germany. The first public striptease held on Wall Street scandalized the public. It would soon catch on across the globe. A rope bed in a drunk tank in Britain, early 20th century. Horse-shaped device used to hold children still during X-rays, mid-20th century. A soldier prays amid the ruins of a destroyed temple, Republic of Vietnam, 1972. Japanese gangsters, Yakuza, 1960. An outraged woman, Paris, 1948. Above, the father's reaction to the birth of a son. Below, the reaction to the birth of a daughter. Azerbaijan, 1909. The first football kit of FC Barcelona, 1899. The scale of repression in the USSR knew no bounds. In 1938, 502 people were executed in one day, including 3 cleaners. 3 poor elderly women were declared enemies of the people. A black family drinks from a colored-only fountain in the U.S., 1956. The contrast between their dignified appearance and their humiliating social status is striking. A downcast Ugandan ambassador at a UN General Assembly session, 1974. German automobile with a spring steel tire used due to the rubber shortage during World War I, 1917. General Patton's dog mourning his owner's death, 1945. Roosevelt gets out of the car during his campaign trip to Hollywood, one of the few photos showing his paralytic condition, which journalists and photographers avoided showing during World War II. A contest for the most elegant smoking style in Paris, 1932. Torgau, 1945. Soviet and American troops meet and hug near the ruined bridge across the Elbe. Their smiles are genuine, yet they mask 4 years of shared conflict: Stalingrad and Normandy, the siege of Leningrad and Pearl Harbor. First German soldiers advanced toward the USSR border, June 22, 1941. Finnish blacksmith Pirtimäki stands in line all night to become the first buyer of a bottle of vodka after the end of Prohibition, April 5, 1932. Daughters meet their father after the war, England, 1940. Charles King, President of Liberia in 1927, entered the Guinness Book of Records for the most fraudulent election in history, winning 234,000 votes in a country with only 15,000 registered voters. A photo of the seemingly kind family man Heinrich Himmler with his family from his photo album, but he was a Nazi, 1936. Korea, 1910. A boy and girl in traditional wedding attire, taken during the final year of the Joseon dynasty. Defeated. Captured Wehrmacht generals stand in thought at the walls of the artillery-damaged Berlin Cathedral, 1945. Quarantine warehouses for people infected with the Spanish flu, 1918. When seatbelts in racing were not yet mandatory, 1950s. In 1961, the U.S. Air Force accidentally dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Goldsboro, North Carolina. One bomb nearly detonated, which could have caused an explosion 260 times more powerful than Hiroshima. The bow of the Titanic on the bottom of the Atlantic, National Geographic Magazine Archive, 1991. Workers clear snow from the railroad tracks, Alaska, 1904. British soldiers suppress a rebellion in Kenya, 1955. A U.S. Marine feeds an orphaned kitten, Korean War, 1953. Linus, the longest-haired and longest-tailed horse in the world. Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife arrive in Sarajevo, 1914. Students at Augustana College react to the not guilty verdict of O.J. Simpson's murder trial, October 3, 1995. Miners packed into a multi-tiered lift, Belgium, early 20th century. Known as cages, these primitive elevators descended 1,000 meters deep. Cable snaps were common, turning the crowded shaft into a deadly trap with no escape. They even carried pigeons inside, living gas detectors that would drop dead if the air turned toxic. In Italy, pasta was once considered street food. In 1908, like all good street food, it was consumed not with a fork, but directly with bare hands. A pickup truck speeds away from the eruption of Mount Pinatubo, Philippines, 1990. American and Mexican soldiers stand at the Arizona border before the big wall was built, 1915. Marilyn Monroe's last photo shoot 3 weeks before her death, USA, 1962. Jacques Plante became the first goaltender in hockey history to play wearing a mask, 1959. In the 1870s, the KKK was officially banned and went underground, but in 1915 the organization resumed open activities. About 6 million people joined its ranks. Lynchings in the U.S. continued. In 1972, Spanish postman Gabriel March Grandos was sentenced to 384,912 years in prison, the longest sentence in history, for destroying 42,768 letters he refused to deliver. The largest horse in the world, captured in 1927 in England, named Supreme. An enormous horse, 2 meters tall and weighing 1.5 tons, was as heavy as freight trains. An old Halloween costume. Jewish women moments before facing execution in the ghetto, Latvia, 1941. A British soldier entertains his comrades by impersonating Hitler, London, 1939. How Alaska's Muir Glacier changed from 1882 to 2015. Robert Wadlow, one of the tallest people in history, 1939. When he died, his height was 8 feet 11 inches, weight 438 pounds. Improvised cavalry parade in memory of horses killed in WWI, USA, 1917. Skeleton of Siamese twins in the Mutter Museum. Queen Elizabeth II visiting the British Army with the L-85 rifle. Sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.